Hello and welcome to Blytheway Business News, where today we're joined by a company making its debut on the show. That company is Griffin Mining, listed in London on the AIM market with a ticker of GFM and a market capitalisation of around £250 million. I'm joined by the company's finance director, Roger Goodwin. Roger, welcome to the show. You've just announced results. Before we get into the actual finances, though, you are new to the show, you're new to the audience. Can you give us a quick overview on what Griffin does and where it does it, please?
Well, that's amusing. I was sort of thinking, oh, well, we're new. Actually, far from it, because Griffin was one of the first companies to be listed on the AIM market of the London Stock Exchange back in June 1997. So we've been around for close to 25 years. In fact, the company's been in existence since 1988. Well, certainly for the past 24 years, we've been developing the Gaijin, or as the Anglophile it, the Gaijin zinc gold project in northern China. Yes, we took an interest in that in 1997. We've been quietly developing that over the last 24 years. We brought the mine into production in 2005, initially mining 200,000 tons of ore per annum. We've been quietly increasing that such that we're now doing around 900,000 tons of ore per annum. In fact, we should be able to do over 1 million tons of ore per annum. Gaijin is a polymetallic deposit containing primarily zinc, but there's also a lot of gold and silver and sort of lead. We have an 88.8% interest in that, very Chinese, because 8 is the lucky number. And our Chinese joint venture partners have an 11.2% sort of interest, and that's the Zhangjiakou city government and the 3rd Brigade of the Hebei province. As I said, we've been there for 24 years now. We've built up a good relationship with the Chinese and all the authorities that are there, which means we're probably the only true Western mining company to survive and still to be working and mining in China. And I know it's something you'll probably want to ask about later on, but it's also interesting. When we started this mine, we started it literally with only about an estimated resource, about 3 million tons. Although we've been mining now for nearly, 16 years, we now find we've got probably in excess of 100 million tons to go through. This thing gets bigger and bigger and bigger. We started the mine, as I said, back in 2005, at a cost of $18 million. To date, we probably spent up to $300 million. So we've built up quite a substantial sort of project here. I hope we're going to be there for a long time. And we haven't just got the mine. There is a lot of surrounding area, which we have the rights to. So there's an awful lot for us to get on with there.
Okay, so a significant mine in China, as you said, zinc,
Yep.
gold, silver, lead. So sounds like a very sizable asset. You've just announced the results for 2020. Talk us through the headlines of the results, please.
Yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, 2020 was not the easiest of years. COVID, I suppose, hit us at the beginning of the year. The Chinese authorities did actually make us suspend our operations for a month in February sort of last year. So clearly that had an impact on production. So our production numbers were sort of slightly down. But then we were able to get back into production in March. And by end of March, April, we were back in full production. So our processing rates were slightly down on what we had last year. But the zinc price during the sort of the shutdown, the zinc price clearly sort of fell. It's certainly the prices we received dropped to about $1,400 a ton. They then picked up eventually to the price we're now receiving well over $2,000 a ton. So that enabled us to increase our profitability. So although we made a loss in the first quarter, the last 3 quarters were profitable. Such at the end of the day, our revenues were only slightly down. I think we're down by 6.3% on what we had last year, but our profits are up. So our operating profits have gone from 11.7 million to 14.7 million sort of this year. And our profits after tax have gone from 6.1 million up to 8.9 million. So despite all the problems we have had with COVID at the beginning of the year, we have been able to sort of improve our profitability And I have to say, going forward, if we look at first quarter results in 2021, they're improving again. We're seeing a reduction in the smelter charges and an improvement in the prices we're actually receiving. We're a debt-free company. We don't have to worry about debt. That has enabled us to survive. It certainly doesn't give our auditors too many headaches when we look at going concern. Whereas last year we had so many companies having problems with going concern was not an issue for us. We cruised through that. So we're in a very good, strong position.
You said at the start of the interview, Roger, that you've been in China a long time, but recently you've also passed some significant milestones, I guess, including the award of a new mining license for Zone 2 and Zone 3 of the project. Having passed those milestones, having got the license, what does that mean for the development of Griffin?
Yeah, Rob, you're absolutely right. And I have to say, as an accountant, I've become too focused on the financial side. But in actual fact, 2020 was quite a year for us because, first of all, we received what they call the PFA approvals. Now, in China, you have to develop the mine to various levels before you are allowed to actually physically mine the ore. So we actually managed to develop the mine right down to the 1,000-meter level, which is the extent of our mining license, which is where we know where the ore is. And we were given the permission, therefore, to mine all of the area in what we call Zone 3. So that was a great step for us forward. We then had a new mining license, which covered not just the Zone 3 area, which we're already mining, but also Zone 2, which is an area which is 1.5 kilometers to the south of Zone 3. In actual fact, it's a continuous ore body. So we are now able to start mining, to start development into that area. That will allow us to go from 1 million tons of ore per annum up to 1.5 million tons of ore per annum. We already have all the processing facilities to be able to process 1.5 million tons of ore per annum. So importantly, we now have the license. We just need to develop at a relatively minimal capital cost because everything else is there. The licensing and everything else is now in there. And the other big thing was we achieved what they call green mine certification in China. In fact, we were top of the list in China for being a green mine. So when you see the annual report and accounts this year, you'll see an ESG report in there. You will see we've complied with just about every regulation that the Chinese can come up with, but we have to agree, comply with every environmental regulation that the Chinese will come up with. And people have a wrong perception of China. China has very strong environmental controls. We've seen it change enormously over the past 24 years, such that their environmental controls are as strong as anywhere in the world. We've complied with all of those. That has put us at the top of the list. That enables us to continue in production and be seen to be the good boys in China. So 2020 was very, very productive for us, certainly in terms of getting our licenses and certifications and permits to move forward.
So let me get this right. Production is now going to be ramping up significantly with the licenses you've got.
Correct.
I think you said you've got minimal capex to spend. You are debt-free. That's going to give you and your colleagues some interesting questions to think about. I do. They're the nice problems to have. A miner with no capex and production going through the roof. That's great news.
Well, as you sort of know, I mean, we've started a share buyback program. My American colleagues, North American colleagues, I should say, love share buyback programs. And I think we would prefer dividends in Europe. So, it's a bit of a dichotomy, but hopefully we can do both as we move forward.
Well, when you've resolved that, Roger, you must come back and give us an update. I want to keep on moving on, though, with the actual mining, because you've also, I think, am I right? You've doubled the resource estimate at Gaijin. Is that right?
Actually, it's more than doubled. So, I mean, it is extraordinary, actually. We've been mining there for 15, 16 years, just in Zone 3, and we've gone from 3 million to 47. We've now got another 47 million in Zone 2 as well. And there is an additional resource in what we call Zone 8, which is an area to the south, so to the north of the mine. So yes, we've gone we've now doubled from 47 up to 101 million tons of ore per annum, despite the fact we've been mining all through this period.
Well, Roger?
It's extraordinary. There is so much there. And we have rights in the surrounding area as well. So there's even more to discover.
Well, you must come back and keep us updated. Thank you for joining us. That was a great introduction to Griffin Mining. Before I let you go, though, what should viewers, what should investors, potential investors be looking out for in the coming months by way of news flow from Griffin?
Interesting. I suppose, the first one will probably be the interim announcement. But I suppose for us, it's more a case of we have all these permits. We're now starting to do things. We're hoping to get start mining into zone 2. Whether these become announceable, I don't know. We have a lot to get on with. It's going to be an exciting year for us. And I look forward to presenting some very exciting results next year.
Roger, thank you for joining us. That was Roger Goodwin, Finance Director of Griffin Mining. Griffin Mining making its first appearance on Blytheway Business News, although, as Roger said, a company which has been in operation in China for a long time. To remind you, Griffin Mining has a market capitalisation of around £250 million sterling, is listed on the AIM market with a ticker of GFM, and is mining zinc, gold, silver and lead in China. That's it from Blytheway Business News for today. Thanks for watching.